So good afternoon. My name is Dr. J.P. Sanchez, and I serve as an Associate Professor of Emergency Medicine, as well as the Associate Dean for Diversity and Inclusion at Rutgers, New Jersey Medical School. As a gay-identified Latino man, I am especially honored to welcome you to the fourth event of LGBT Pride Month, entitled Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Excellence at NJMS and University Hospital. This event is co-sponsored by the Office of the Dean and the Office of the Vice Dean, the NJMS Diversity Committee, and the Clinical and Basic Science departments. This is the first of 5 Heritage Month celebrations for the 2018-2019 academic year. Today's panel presentation is organized to provide you with a broad glimpse of how our talented trainees and faculty from various departments, as well as University Hospital, are leading LGBTQ-related educational, research, clinical, service-related work, and excellence. Our Office of the Dean, led by Dr. Robert Johnson, and Office of the Vice Dean, led by Dr. Maria Soto Green, have been unwavering in leading diversity, inclusion, and workforce diversity and equity for all groups here. But they have also recognized that the LGBTQ and allies community have significant historical and ongoing challenges to their civil and political rights. Only by championing the rights and protections of all marginalized groups can we be sincere to the vision of diversity, inclusion, and equity. As such, our medical school offices have supported the institution's commitment through a variety of activities. The following are a few substantive examples. The Office for Diversity and Community Engagement has led interactive Safe Zone LGBT allies trainings to introduce LGBT terms and definitions and the role of an ally, as well as other trainings on mentoring, LGBT health, and unconscious bias. Additionally, an LGBT task force committee consisting of several of the panelists helps to drive LGBT excellence at the institution. And the NJMS Diversity Committee helps to ensure an inclusive culture and climate for LGBTQA trainees, faculty, and staff. In collaboration with our Office of Education, there are 7 hours of mandatory course time on LGBT health and health disparities during the first 2 years of medical education. And per a 2011 JAMA article, the national average is solely 4. Our Office of Student Affairs organizes a residency panel inclusive of out LGBT-identified students and faculty to help further guide our fourth years on the benefits and potential challenges to being out in the match process. To give our community greater visibility and hence inclusion, we have developed various communication measures. As an NJMS LGBT pin with the colors of the LGBT flag and the Rutgers logo has been created for individuals to fashion on their white coats or scrubs. An out list that includes accessible LGBTQA faculty, staff, and trainees who are committed to supporting an inclusive space and serving as potential role models and mentors and champions currently exists. Each department has been asked to highlight diverse residents and faculty in our portfolio for recruitment purposes, and included are LGBTQA individuals sharing their experiences and being part of our NJMS community. Lastly, LGBT Pride Month consisted of a LGBT flag unveiling event, a session on mentoring LGBTQA individuals, and a webinar on LGBT-related research and training opportunities through the NIH. This is just, once again, a quick glimpse of the work emerging from the Office of the Dean and the Vice Dean. Now, I'm excited to invite up several colleagues who will share how they are championing LGBTQ excellence at NJMS and University Hospital. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Berenson. I'm one of the fourth-year medical students here at Rutgers, New Jersey Medical School, and it has been my privilege to be involved in the student activities of the LGBT community during my tenure here. For a year and a half, I served as the co-president of Out at NJMS, which is the student organization funded by Student Council and supported through various activities throughout the year that allows LGBT students to come together in a tripartite mission to provide education regarding LGBT-related issues, to provide opportunities for mentoring and development for our LGBT workforce, and then finally to provide some level of community service and some philanthropy efforts as well. And we'll talk about all three of those. So the first thing we're going to talk about is our education efforts. We hold several sessions a year focused on different populations, focused on different major topics, designed to not only engage the LGBT community, but the Rutgers NJMS community at large and some of our sister institutions within RBHS about what are the challenges that face our patients and ourselves as providers. Some of the topics that we've done have included a talk by Dr. Asa Radix from the Callan Lord Health Center in New York City about transgender-related issues. A talk by Dr. Robert Johnson, the Dean of the Medical School, about adolescents with an LGBT background and providing primary care to them. And then some early iterations of the Safe Zone training, just giving us the basics of LGBT 101. In terms of mentoring, we've been very successful at increasing the engagement between students and faculty and staff here by hosting a few events that are designed purely for meet and greet and a little bit to talk about what some of the planned agendas are. We've also had the opportunity to be hosted by several of our faculty members at their home for an informal meal and some informal networking as well. From the community service perspective, Out at NJMS tries to come up with a project every year to see how we can engage the community. This picture that you see here is from AIDS Walk, and that was in 2017. We successfully raised over $4,000 through personal fundraising and a drive selling LGBT inclusive pins designed to be worn on white coats throughout the institution. So as you can see, there are a number of different ways in which the students do actively support the LGBT activities here at NJMS. We've been lucky enough to be partners in some of the efforts related to the curriculum development of LGBT content, and we've also been very privileged to be participating in LGBT-related scholarship in both medical education and clinical care. And I will now turn this over to my next colleague. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Lisa Pompeo. I'm an identified lesbian in the Department of Obstetrics, Gynecology, and Women's Health, where I serve as the Director of Medical Student Education, as well as the Residency Program Director. And part of our mission as a Department of Obstetrics, Gynecology, and Women's Health is to provide women's health care for all women, including lesbian, identified, and transgendered women. And part of that is to recruit the best and the brightest into our residency program who are members of the LGBTQI community. What we know from other underrepresented minorities in medicine, it is very clear that being part of a group of people actually increases the likelihood that that group of people will get appropriate and good care. For example, in underrepresented minorities, upwards of 30 to 50% of the patients that a provider will see will be of that same group. And so it's important for us to recruit into the residency program LGBTQI residents. And it's actually fairly simple. What studies have been done that look at what do LGBTQI trainees want? And clearly it's really easy. They want a presence of identifiable supports. They want a curriculum inclusive of gay and lesbian sexuality and health issues. And they want to effective policies censuring discrimination based on sexual orientation. So what we've done in our department in order to recruit has been exceptionally simple and requires almost no work on anybody's part. What we do is our residency administration obviously is open and inclusive, and that goes all the way from the department chair all the way down to the staff in our department, the residency program coordinator, et cetera. And they're clearly supportive of LGBTQ. We have, during our residency materials that are distributed on interview days to our applicants, include information about our non-discrimination policies here at Rutgers, as well as the HR benefits for LGBTQI staff and residents. And we incorporate that not only into the physical materials that we give them, we also incorporate it into the presentation that's given to all. So in that way, it becomes normalized, and it's here, this is what's available to you. And we also have had, over the last more than 20 years, lesbian healthcare has been a formal part of the residency curriculum in both grand round presentations as well as resident didactic sessions and interactive sessions. And because of that, we have been exceptionally successful in our residency in recruiting LGBTQ residents. And indeed, in the last 10 years, we have successfully recruited 9 LGBTQ identified residents. Now, that may not seem like a lot of people, but we are a residency that's only 6 residents per year. So that's actually a significant number. And because of that, we've become a much more open and inclusive department, and this is something that's very easily translatable to almost every other discipline. And this is where we've been most successful. And I'd like to turn it over.
Hi, my name is Carl Curtin. I'm the Chief Nursing Officer of University Hospital, as well as the lead executive on LGBTQ issues at University Hospital. So a couple of years ago, we toyed with the notion of addressing LGBTQ issues at University Hospital, and then we did a gap analysis of where we were at meeting the needs of both our patients and our employees. And much to our surprise, we thought our gap analysis was going to be this much of a gap, and then when we actually did it, it was like this, right? We knew we had a lot of work to do. In fact, we use the Healthcare Quality Index as it is an important tool to gauge where you are in meeting the needs of LGBTQ employees and patients. And when we use this tool, we actually received a score of 30 out of 100 in our initial go-round in addressing the needs. So we knew we had a lot of work to do. We spent a year looking at all of our issues. We filled out the online survey, which is done annually to make sure that you are addressing needs. And I'm going to show you where we wound up after we did the work over the course of the year. The criteria for to get scored high on HEI is that you have to have policies and procedures and activities that do not discriminate against LGBTQ patients. We have to have LGBTQ patient support and services. We have to address the employees' benefits and policies. And we also have to do community engagement. And after we spent about a year working on meeting all of these criteria, we got a score of 95 in 2018, which is excellent. We're going to get 100 in 2019. One important milestone as a result of the work that we did around HEI is that we got a commitment from the executive team to create a strategic plan on meeting the needs of LGBT patients and employees. And it has 5 pillars. We want to improve our organizational climate. We want to reach out to our community partners. We want to do training for all staff. We want to make sure that our care is culturally competent, and of course we want to support the academic mission of research on LGBTQ issues. So we have a strategic plan. We are on track with our strategic plan, and we continue to develop the work that we do at University Hospital to meet the needs of the LGBTQ community. And we also participate in community events such as the Newark Pride Parade every year, and we are a major partner on this event. All right. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Levonis.
Hello, everyone. I'm Petros Levonis, and I chair the Department of Psychiatry here at Rutgers and JMS. And I just want to give some examples of the work that we do on LGBTQ issues from the Department of Psychiatry. Starting with research, this is some work that we do contrasting motivation to quit smoking among gay men, straight men, lesbians, and straight women. And we have had to engage the social media and dating sites to do this kind of research, and that has been quite exciting and quite successful, actually. We put our scholarship in books. This is our latest book on the LGBT casebook that we see how patients with mental health issues may have unique challenges if they are LGBT, for example, coming out or same-sex parenting. And we put these thoughts and ideas and clinical work together in this book, the LGBT casebook. I'm very happy to see that it has been translated in Portuguese, and now we're trying to see if we can also translate it into Spanish. In terms of our advocacy, we convene conferences where we bring the whole community together. This is a conference that we did on transgender mental health, and that was in 2016. We sold out. We had psychiatrists, social workers, psychologists, counselors, as well as other physicians come from all over New York and the greater area to discuss transgender health topics. We also have a series of films that we present and we discuss right here in JMS. This is one that we did on Tangerine, a wonderful movie about transgender women in Los Angeles. Another one was Far From Heaven, that was particularly successful, where we contrasted issues of racism with issues of homophobia. And finally, of course, there's community building. I originally titled this slide Brunch, but I guess it is more kind of academic to call it community building, which translates into brunch. Okay, and this is some examples that the Department of Psychiatry has been involved in terms of LGBTQ. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mark Einstein. I'm the Chair of Obstetrics, Gynecology, and Women's Health at New Jersey Medical School. I'm the Chief of Service of Women's Health Services for University Hospital. At the core of everything that we do is healthcare delivery to our surrounding community. And we wanted to provide the services that are key to our community. Our community includes many LGBTQ identified individuals, and as a result of it, we want to make sure that we are providing those services that are unique to that part of our community as well. LGBTQ identified individuals are at risk for a number of things, including certain types of sexually transmitted infections such as HIV, including some of the behavioral health issues that Dr. Livonis had spoken about. And I know that some of our other colleagues are going to be talking about some of the other health-related issues. One of the things that we've identified over the last 10 years is that individuals that have HIV are at risk for anal cancer. And in fact, the anal cancer risk has tripled in the last 20 years. It has become a priority issue for our National Cancer Institute. And as a result of that, there has been a number of organizations, and in New York State actually now has recommendations for routine anal cancer screening. Now one would say, whoa, what does that mean? Is this like, you know, what are we doing for this? Well, it's essentially like a pap test for the anus. Okay, and we've established these services at University Hospital over the last couple of years. This is particularly adversely affecting our LGBTQ individuals. And in fact, about half of the individuals that we see in our high-resolution anoscopy clinic are those that identify as LGBTQ individuals. This is the idea is that we want to pick it up at its precancerous state before individuals get cancer. Okay, and we're able to do this in just the simple office setting. Okay, And so far, so good. We've been picking this up. And as a result, actually, of the efforts that we have put together, we have actually been notified that we're going to be part of a larger effort that is sponsored by the National Cancer Institute, the Division of Cancer Prevention. The largest funded trial right now for prevention of cancer is actually in anal cancer prevention, particularly in HIV-infected individuals. And we will be one of the sites, we will be one of the 12 sites in the United States that will be a part of this trial. And this is, really because of it is a healthcare problem that is affecting our community. And it is really this disturbing trend that is actually happening. So I just wanted to give sort of an example of one of the healthcare services that we provide that is unique as a healthcare service that is because of the unique community that we serve too. Another thing that we have been working on, and this is something that has been a work in progress that is led primarily by our plastics individual, Dr. Keith, who is not with us right now. But Dr. Keith had come to me to talk about, well, how are we going to be working on transgender reassignment? Now, this is the kind of thing that has been publicized in the news by individuals that might have a lot of funds, to be able to do this, because in the past, this has actually been something that has not been paid for by insurance companies. But because of recent changes in sort of how transgender has been looked upon by the psychiatric community, it is now not, shall we say, something that is a mental health illness, but is actually more of a dysphoria. Okay, it is now thought of as I have a dysphoria to the gender that I am in. And as if there is a dysphoria and there is a treatment for that dysphoria, then it actually has to be paid for. And the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services actually changed its rules, and it is now something that is paid for. All the surgeries that are associated with being in that gender that one might think they shouldn't be in, okay, or have a dysphoria of being in. And as a result of this, we have been one of the leaders in trying to set up a program for gender reassignment surgery. My clinical work is in GYN oncology, and as part of that, we have to do a lot of larger procedures which also require the reconstruction. Oftentimes, we have to remove many of the pelvic organs, including a vagina, and then we have to reconstruct a new one. So those same procedures we actually use for reassignment surgery. The good thing is we're usually dealing with healthy, non-radiated, tissue in these individuals. Dr. Keith has actually gone through extensive training to be able to do the microvascular work for being able to change things around such that people could have feelings with a neoclitoris as well as a neovagina. And so far, we are actually the first institution in the state to have done both male to female, female to male patients so far, and we have many, many more that are in the line of having this surgery to get done. I know that Dr. Keith has, some things that you should be aware of is that we are the first multidisciplinary center that is dedicated to the care of the transgender persons. And this is a multidisciplinary team, not just the surgeons parts of it, but there's the behavioral health parts of it. There's the head and neck. We are able to do actually voice changes too, okay, to help with the gender reassignment surgery. The reproductive endocrinology, as one of our colleagues will be talking about a little later on, but hormones are a major part of the gender reassignment surgery aspects of things. And not everybody goes through the end surgery, okay? Many live their lives transgender, but without necessarily having to complete the bottom surgery, okay? We have top surgery and bottom surgery is how we refer to it. Many complete top surgery, but not everybody completes bottom surgery. That's a much bigger surgery, as one might imagine. So the services do include the primary care aspects of it, which include the hormone therapy, the mental health counseling, because there's a lot of issues with going through these changes, not just from a behavioral health issue, but actually learning how to be a patient. Okay, and that's a unique sort of skill set that patients have to sort of learn because they're otherwise normal, healthy, living their lives, all right? But to go through this is a stepwise process. The voice adjustment procedures, as we talked about, as well as egg preservation that we're able to provide, as many want to eventually have children, okay? And like I said, there's the top surgery and the bottom surgery, and then there's also revision. So one thing we've noticed, once you start opening up a program, we're getting people that have actually been medical travelers and have had these surgeries in other areas of the world, and they're not from well-trained surgeons, and they're really pretty botched up stuff. And so we're here to help, to revise it, to make it actually right, so that they could be functional and live their lives functionally from surgeries that have been done inappropriately, shall we say. All right, so we've actually did our first female to male general reassignment surgery. That was in February. We've done our first male to female reassignment surgery. That was just last month, okay? And both are very happy, and they were both successful surgeries. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Michelle Della Piazza. I'm from the Department of Medicine and the Division of Infectious Diseases. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our transgender health program within the infectious diseases practice at University Hospital. When I first came here in 2015, our research program within the infectious diseases practice was about to open up 2 very large HIV prevention studies through the HIV and Prevention Trials Network. And these studies were looking at novel approaches to pre-exposure prophylaxis for the prevention of HIV infection. And the target populations for these studies were particularly men who have sex with men and transgender women of color, who proportionally are at much higher risk of HIV infection. In fact, we know from really well done studies that transgender women are actually about 40 times more likely to become HIV positive in their lifetimes than the general population. So as part of these studies, we did a number of community outreach needs assessments to try to see what were the needs in the community and how could we really outreach to recruit transgender individuals into these studies. And we found that there was a really large unmet need for gender affirmation therapies, including hormones and surgery. So as part of that, when I first came on, knowing that this need existed, I got some extra training in hormone therapy for transgender individuals. And we started our trans health program in 2017, with the overarching goals being twofold. The first is to alleviate gender dysphoria, which, as Dr. Einstein talked about, is the socially induced symptoms of having a gender identity that doesn't match your sex assigned at birth. And patients really, really suffer as a result of gender dysphoria. And so the alleviation of the gender dysphoria that we were able to provide is hormone therapy. And the hormones really provide a lot of support for patients who really want to affirm the gender that meets their true identity. And then the secondary goal, that is of course very important to us as well, is to increase engagement in primary and preventive care for both HIV positive women living with HIV and HIV negative transgender women. And we took a very holistic approach. Our clinic is a Ryan White funded clinic where we provide HIV primary care, so we do all of the HIV related care, but also cancer screening and other primary care services. And so we really took a holistic approach here, and I started to treat both HIV positive and HIV negative transgender women for gender dysphoria. And it really did take a lot of legwork to be able to do this. So it took a lot of leadership, which Dr. Curtin was talking about, and Dr. Sanchez as well, with the task force at UH and at NJMS, and really establishing multidisciplinary referral services with Dr. Einstein and Dr. Keith and Dr. Lavunas as well, to make sure that we had the appropriate services that we would need for comprehensive care. We revamped our environment to make sure that it was completely welcoming. We put up signs. We started asking everyone what their pronoun was and what their preferred name was. Every single patient, every single time coming to our front desk. We made sure there were patient materials in the waiting rooms that really featured transgender women and men, and we made sure that we had gender-neutral bathrooms, in addition to putting up pride flags, both the transgender pride flag and the LGBTQ pride flag as well throughout our clinic. We had a lot of training, thanks to Dr. Sanchez, safe zone training for key leaders within our clinic. We had a special retreat at which our entire clinic was required to attend, with special training on culturally competent care for gender and sexual minorities. We had a multitude of pronoun workshops and special speakers and activist invitations. And we continued with our community outreach, which has been critical in engaging with the transgender population. So we're recruiting and maintaining LGBTQ staff, including hiring 3 trans-identified individuals or gender nonconforming individuals within our clinic. We're continuously doing needs assessments, community events, including this at Pride last year in Newark. We had a fashion show called Strut that really featured sexual and gender minorities. Resource guides that we're developing. We just received funding from HRSA for an intervention called Healthy Divas that is meant to help with gender affirmation and self-efficacy among transgender women living with HIV. And our research efforts continue with the AMP study and the 083 study as well, which are our pre-exposure prophylaxis studies, really targeting transgender women for enrollment into these studies. And transgender women, unfortunately, have largely been ignored in clinical studies in HIV and HIV prevention for some time. Often transgender women were sort of put into the same category as men who have sex with men, but in fact they are very, very different. It's a completely different patient population that really deserves to receive greater recognition and greater inclusion in our research studies. So I'm very, very proud to be a part of this and very proud to be able to collaborate with such wonderful leaders in LGBTQ care.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Sari Benciana. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Pediatrics in our Division of Adolescent and Young Adult Medicine. So the Division of Adolescent and Young Adult Medicine, or DAYM, is led by Dr. Robert Johnson, the Dean of New Jersey Medical School. And as you can see, we've been providing primary and specialty care to adolescents and young adults in Newark for more than 40 years. However, during the height of the HIV epidemic, DAYM began developing specialized services to create an environment to specifically address the needs of the LGBTQ youth that we were serving. So today we deliver trauma-informed, culturally competent care in a safe space for all youth in Newark. So the foundation of our services is really rooted in our clinical care. Primarily, we provide preventative and primary care to all youth, including sexual minority youth, in our dedicated adolescent medicine clinic here at NJMS. We also deliver many services that are specialized towards targeting the LGBTQ population, including providing multidisciplinary care for youth who are infected with HIV. A disproportionate number of our youth who are infected with HIV identify as LGBTQ, with 87% being men who have sex with men, 3% identifying as bisexual, and 1% identifying as transgender. We also offer gender-affirming hormone therapy to adolescents who are diagnosed with gender dysphoria and seeking to transition, and we're able to link them to supportive mental health services to guide them during their transition. Another one of our pillars is really the education piece. Right now, we are mentoring a group of first and second year medical students through our Community Engaged Service Learning course here at New Jersey Medical School, and they're taking part in a formalized curriculum to highlight the unique needs that LGBTQ youth experience, especially here in our population. In addition, pediatrics and medicine pediatrics residents participate in a community-based learning experience at the Hedrick Martin Institute in downtown Newark during their month-long community-based adolescent medicine experience that they have with me. And the goals of this experience is really for our trainees to understand the importance of community-based organizations, especially for the LGBTQ population, to help meet the needs of our patients beyond the walls of the hospital and beyond the walls of the clinic, where we most likely are to interact with them. Particularly, our residents learn what makes the LGBTQ youth more vulnerable to many of the health risk disparities and how HMI and other community-based organizations can help mitigate some of these risks. All students and residents are encouraged to participate in ongoing research and QI projects that are dedicated to address the needs of LGBTQ youth. And we also encourage participation in advocacy and other service projects like community health fairs and special projects around the community, giving out free condoms and things like that. As you can see on the slide, our scope of service is quite broad, and we really it's designed to empower our youth to make healthy and responsible decisions, no matter what gender orientation they identify as. We reaffirm the importance that healthcare providers must care for the whole person by understanding their physical needs and their emotional well-being, and we as a division are very sensitive to the special needs of sexual minority youth and have even designed a comprehensive patient intake form that it has language sensitive to gender non-binary patients. We also provide ongoing staff training as required by our commitment to producing a safe and culturally competent environment. So our robust grant-funded programs that you can see listed here are intended to reduce risk and enhance healthy lifestyles among all the youth in Newark that we serve, and many specialize in targeting the LGBTQ youth in our community. By providing a safe and welcoming space, we continue to provide comprehensive preventative care along with specialized LGBTQ youth services in our growing clinical practice. All right, and I'll turn it over.
So my name is Noah Shimoni, and I direct student health services here at the Health Sciences campus up in Newark. And our services are geared towards all students. It's a family medicine practice that's exclusively for students, and we're proud to be a safe zone for LGBTQ students as well. So what sort of services do we offer? General services include full spectrum acute and chronic medical care, health maintenance and preventive services, and our more specialized services include treatment for gender dysphoria. Primarily and firstly, it's support, but certainly also includes gender-affirming hormone therapy and referrals for surgery when requested, and if and when a student is ready. Along with this comes sexual health care. So this includes gynecological services, cervical cancer screenings and colposcopy, full contraception needs, as many people on the LGBTQ, many individuals who are LGBTQ identified may need contraception as well. HIV pre and post exposure prophylaxis and STI screening and treatment as well.